आर्टिकल 370 हटा, दिल्ली में बैठी मरकजी सरकार हमें बेदखल कर रही है अपनी जमीनों से, हमारी नौकरियों से, हमारे वसाइल से। मैं इनको कहना चाहती हूँ, पहला और आखिरी हक इन चीजों पे हमारा है, आपका है। और मैं
I see the role agencies play. I see the invisible hand of the government. They pull people like puppets through strings.
The counter to this though, from the India's point of view, would be कि भाई terrorism डंडे से ही बंद होता है।
मुफ्ती अब्दुल्ला वो हनी सिंह जैसे रैप करता है, एक ही चीज 10 बार बोलता है गाने में, वही रैप चल रहा है यहाँ।
गुपकर गैंग,
हाँ, गुपकार। ऑल्दो हम गुपकार में अब रहते भी नहीं, बदनाम कर दिया उस सड़क को।
People really have to come here to see how you guys are perceived here versus what the Delhi media says.
You're not Indian enough for the government in India, like for the Indian government, and you're not Kashmiri enough here. विपत्ति बुद्धि क्या बुद्धि क्या वो एक
विनाशकाल विपरीत
बीजेपी का यही हाल है, बेहाल है उनका हाल। There are a couple of Kashmiri Pandit journalists, when they interview me, some of them, it gets so personal that they behave like, you can tell the way they'll ask you questions, you can tell that they're hurting and they're being vindictive. I'm not going to be an absentee mother. I'm not, because I've had an absentee mother and it messes you up in.
But there is this thing कि PDP की वजह से abrogation हुआ,
Yeah.
जो हम माफ नहीं करेंगे। आपने बीजेपी के साथ अलायंस करा, हम माफ नहीं करेंगे, हम ट्रस्ट नहीं करेंगे।
बट क्या अटूट अंग है? आपको तो हमें जलील करने में मजा आता है।
पर ये जलील क्यों फील हुआ? मतलब इसमें
अगर मैं महाराष्ट्र को तोड़ के यूटी बना दूं तो वहाँ के जो ठाकरे वाली शिवसेना है वो हमारी क्या हालत करेंगे? I got a message when I did Hard Talk, the BBC show, and when I did an interview with Aman Poor, I was told that we will book your mother under PSA. So that a message I got, but I don't want to name the person.
Okay.
He was obviously quite at the top. The message was sent indirectly through a messenger, and they said that if you do this, then we'll book her under PSA. I said, I know you will anyways book her under PSA, so I might as well talk and then you book her. And they booked her under PSA a month later. Galib says ना कि ये इश्क नहीं आसान, एक आग का दरिया है, डूब के जाना है। Politics यहाँ आग का दरिया है।
इस बार आपका नुमाइंदा इंशाल्लाह एक नौजवान लड़की होगी जिसका नाम इल्तिजा मुफ्ती है।
Welcome to News Laundry Interviews. We are here today with Iltija Mufti at her residence. It's a very hectic, busy time for her. Iltija, of course, is born into a heavy-duty political family. Her mother has been the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir before the abrogation of Article 370. She's the state's first woman Chief Minister. Her grandfather, of course, has also been the Chief Minister of J&K, but he's also been the Tourism Minister with the Rajiv Gandhi government and the Home Minister with the VP Singh government. Iltija, you are 2-year-old in politics. 2023, you joined formally in PDP. And when we met yesterday, you said that you've mostly grown up in Delhi. You've done your master's in international relations from Warwick. So I want to actually, before we talk about everything that's happening with this election, I just want to zoom back. Growing up in this family with politics all around you, and especially politics in Kashmir with all its ups and downs. What was it like growing up? Were you shielded from politics? Was your family like, isko dur rakho, isko Delhi bhejo? Or were you very involved in everything that was happening, conversations in the house?
Actually, even if they wanted, they couldn't have protected me because it just comes. Your conversations, your dinner table conversations, सुबह आप नाश्ता करते हैं, दिन में, रात में, politics. And we all moved to Delhi after my aunt's abduction.
She was abducted by militants.
She was abducted and I was 2 years old, so I remember very little of the time. I was born and raised in Delhi, and so it was obviously a very turbulent time. Smooth तो नहीं था, but obviously I'm very privileged. जब आप एक political family में आप परवरिश होती है तो you live a privileged life. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि ओ मैं बेचारी and all, but obviously, my mother is a divorcee and she herself got into politics and I was barely 8 or 9. And so it was like just losing the only parent I knew, and from there on, I just completely lost her.
What was that like? Because I know that in one of your interviews, you've said that, growing up, she was very distant from you.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, your mother was a single parent. Did you know that she wanted to enter politics, or she just had to, there was a thopod on her, that she had to do it?
No, so basically my mother used to work random jobs, East West Airlines करके, अब वो defunct है. So she used to work there also. She worked in a mercantile bank because she didn't want to take money from her parents. My mom has a lot of pride, you know, she's very egoistic. She has that pride, she has that self-esteem. So even though we lived with my maternal grandparents, my mother decided she would work. And then फिर 96 में एक सिचुएशन हो गई. यहाँ तब इतनी मिलिटेंसी थी, जब इलेक्शन इन्होंने डिक्लेयर किया 96 में होंगे तो कैंडिडेट्स नहीं थे, तो मेरी नानी ने भी इलेक्शन लड़ा, वो तो हार गई. बट माई मदर, आप तकदीर देखिए, शी केम होम एज अ डिवोर्सी 2 बच्चों को लेके, बट शी गॉट इन टू पॉलिटिक्स बिकॉज दैट टाइम देर वॉज नो बडी विलिंग टू फाइट ऑन अ कांग्रेस सीट. Even in Kashmir, there was that fear, you know. So my grandfather told my mother, my mamu was underage. I have one mamu. So he was like, you fight. And then from there on, obviously, you know, her career kind of like took off.
So how did life change for you once your mother joined politics as a kid? Like
Well,
you said,
growing up, my mother was always very sullen. She was kind of like very low all the time. I remember listening to Jagjit Singh songs and Meena Kumari, Madhubala, all those weird, depressing Hindi songs. And we would watch horror movies. So we grew up on a staple diet of like The Exorcist and, you know, Rosemary's Baby and, you know,
was she
Evil
making you
Dead.
guys also watch all this along with her?
Yeah, and I used to get so scared. And my mom used to like enjoy watching all these movies, you know.
What do you attribute her depression to? Like, why do you think that she was sullen when you were growing up?
I think, you know, maybe she didn't expect her life to turn out the way it did. She got married and she came back home with 2 daughters and it's a lot of pressure. 2 बेटे होते तो अलग बात होती, लेकिन 2 बेटियां होना, फिर आपका डिवोर्स हो गया, आप 25 साल के भी नहीं हैं, you're a young divorcee, ऊपर से 2 बेटियां हैं. It's a very stereotypical way, लेकिन हमारी सोसाइटी ऐसी है. ऊपर से फिर, you know, a lot of things happened and by the time she joined politics, I think she became very distant. And I was telling you, once she joined politics, तो affectionate तो वो hardly थी मेरे साथ, but once she joined politics, whenever she would kiss me, मैं हमेशा तब सो रही होती थी. Because I think बाहर से she had to show she was tough in a Muslim conservative society. You have to show you're a woman, you're an outlier in politics. So she had to show you're tough. But then you can't switch on, switch off when you come back home. You get that personality home. So she was slightly cold.
So you grew up with a sort of a distant parent. But
Yeah.
was there an understanding that, okay, this is her duty and this is what we have to... So who was the parent for you then? Like, where was your parent figure?
That's a tough one. My grandmom. My grandmom really, really took care of us. And my mother was obviously not present. And, you know, I realized that she's not doing a regular job. Somehow, mentally, I started understanding that she's leaving in the morning. She used to leave in a battered ambassador because यहाँ जो government थी NC की, they won't even give her security. So when she would leave in the morning, my 9-year-old brain knew that she might not come back in the evening. So I processed that. I internalized that I could lose her as a child. So my grandmom was there and my grandmom was very, even though she's not educated, but she was very independent, very strong. So we had her as a mother figure and my sister, who's older to me, was extremely protective. So those were the influences in my life.
So cut to 2019 now. Your entry into politics. We first kind of hear about you on the scenes when you start handling your mother's social media.
And she's
in
detained.
house arrest.
Yeah.
She's detained. So you start...
Not house arrest. She's taken to a government house designated as a jail.
So you start tweeting on her behalf. The circumstances under which you joined politics. A, did you think you'd want to do this? You know, follow her up on her legacy? Or was this just something that you just had to, you know, get yourself ready to do because there was no other option?
You know, like sometimes when you don't know how to swim and you're thrown into the deep end and you just take a plunge and you're in the pool and then you do whatever you have to do to stay afloat. The thing is that before 2019, if you notice, I never came out in the media. You'll never find a single picture of me. My mother was the chief. 2019, I see situation ho gayi. They took her. And then the media guys started approaching me because somehow our broadband in Kashmir was working. It was a fluke. So I started sending these smuggled voice notes and one thing led to the other. And people thought that I should talk. And then obviously cut to the chase. Now the party felt that I should fight because we need strong voices in the assembly. But this is alien territory for me. Even though I come from a political family, there are days when I feel so overwhelmed. I haven't slept in a while. Ever since they declared my mandate, I don't sleep much because there's a lot of pressure. You project one thing outside, but on the inside, sometimes you feel like you're crumbling. You can't always be strong. So there is that fear.
In one of your interviews, you've said that for other people, basically you're talking about joining politics, and you say that for other people it might be attractive. I have no attraction for it. And that I've come forward because there's a vacuum. Now, there is this whole thing about dynasts. Not just in Kashmir, but across Bollywood maybe hai, Indian politics maybe hai. And when, even Rahul Gandhi said this in many of his speeches, that I've been born at the center of power, so I don't care for it. When you say that I have no attraction for politics, I have no attraction for power, people may look at this as a privileged person saying that I have disdain for something because I already have it. I don't need to work for it. It's given to me on a silver spoon. So how would you respond to that charge that dynasts in politics are taking power for granted? कि मेरी मम्मी को भी वोट किया, grandfather को भी, तो मुझे भी eventually कर ही देंगे, आज नहीं तो कल कर ही देंगे.
Fair enough, वो impression होता है, but Manisha, if you genuinely look at Mehbooba ji's political trajectory or my grandfather's, when my mother got into politics, people were writing Mufti Saab off. He had been in the political wilderness for a long time. My grandfather hardly won 3 elections on his own. If you do some research, you'll realize. So our family was very different in the sense that my mother made him. In the sense that he wanted to be the chief minister, he had a vision for the people of J&K. So my family actually struggled a lot. Maybe people who see me, they'll say, "Arey, iske muh mein to chandi ka chamcha hoga." It wasn't like that at all. My mother saw a lot of struggle with my grandfather. I remember the first party manifestos that came out for PDP, they didn't even have enough money to get it printed. They were black. So it's not like your Chautalas or your Raos or your Paswans or your Yadavs,
or
where
Gandhis.
Even now, if you look at how I'm entering politics, are we at our pinnacle? Is PDP?
Yeah.
We're not.
That's a very good.
It is not like I'm being anointed and I'm the next chief minister and people are coming and they're like, "Oh my God, you are going to sweep this election and how do you feel?" I'm coming in at a time when people are writing PDP off. They're writing our political obituary. I did an interview with Rajdeep where he asked me, "Is it over for you? The party that your grandfather made." So the media is creating it. They're romanticizing my getting into politics, but this is baptism by fire.
I think it's a very good point that you made, because this is actually a very tough election for PDP.
Yeah.
When we go among people, there is the burden of abrogation. I want to talk about the abrogation also, but there is this thing कि PDP की वजह से abrogation हुआ, जो हम माफ नहीं करेंगे. आपने बीजेपी के साथ अलायंस करा, हम माफ नहीं करेंगे, हम ट्रस्ट नहीं करेंगे. तो this is a huge, and then the entry of Jamaat, of course, there's engineer issue.
Complicated.
This is a very hard election for PDP, and there's genuine anger about with the party.
Yeah.
Are you receiving that from when you meet people?
No, I mean, when I am out, I have to admit something to you. A lot of people will tell me to my face, "Our vote will go for you, not for the party, not for your mother, because we like you." Because there's this image of mine that I have spoken the truth for the past 5 years. So they know me as Iltija as well. Because, when my mom got into politics, you didn't have the smartphone. She had to traverse hundreds, thousands of kilometers before people. Today, if I give an interview, somebody sitting in Punch sees me, somebody sitting in Coimbatore sees me. So people here know me. Of course, there's that burden. And when I saw my grandfather die in front of my own eyes, I knew he went with an aching heart. He knew the risk that he was taking. And somewhere in his heart, he knew it was not working out. And this is a burden that we have to carry.
The alliance with BJP.
Of course, and I try to make people understand, and what you're saying is right, but I think people also understand the fact that we had a fractured mandate, that we did not have a choice. It's not something willingly you would ally with somebody like the BJP. It's just that the mandate was so fractured that you didn't have a choice. But कहते हैं ना कि बहुत सारे लोग हैं जिनको शायद ये अभी भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. But that's where I come in. I'm coming in at a very difficult time. They are romanticizing me getting into politics, but I'm coming in at a time when there is hostility towards not just PDP, but towards all mainstream parties.
Yes.
It is about
mistrust of all political parties in Kashmir.
It's not just PDP, it's about the NC. If you talk about the NC, they'll abuse everybody from their political family. They'll deride them. They'll have law. Because, I mean, for us, it's just our alliance with the BJP. But if you look at NC, they feel that people feel NC is constantly betrayed them. But the thing is that whatever happens, you have to accept it, right? And the burden is there. It's definitely there. But for me, when I get out, so many women come to see me. There's so many youngsters. But whatever they decide, I'll accept it, Manisha. This is a democracy. I cannot force people. I can make them understand something. In the end, if they decide that we don't want Iltija to be our representative, I have to be politically mature enough wise enough to accept that decision. But yes, there is anger against all mainstream parties.
There is a deep sense of actually despondency
Yeah.
among the Kashmiri people with all mainstream political parties. That
I
is
agree.
something you can sense,
I
which is
agree.
why there's probably an attraction for newer independent faces. But we'll come to that.
Which
I
are not
think-
very independent.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you buy? Are you one of the? Are you going to say कि वो BJP के हैं या उसका?
I'm not a conspiracy theorist as such, but in Kashmir, nothing is what it seems. There are lots of greys. There are no black and whites here. You are a journalist, so you don't understand what's happening inside. I see the role agencies play. I see the invisible hand of the government. They pull people like puppets through strings, and you might not see that. A common person might not see that. How do you explain a man under a UAPA case who has grievous, serious terror funding charges being given bail in the middle of an election? I'm not doubting him. I'm not casting aspersions. I have these questions in my own mind. With the PDP, they also know that we were in power just for 4 years. But despite that, you had the Ikhwan here, you had Task Force, you had Pota. Mufti Sahab brought the healing touch. If you look at his first 3 years as a chief minister, even his harshest detractors will tell you that there was a palpable change. People had dignity. You know, things were normal. Things became normal for a very long time. Genuinely normal, not the sullen silence. There was genuine peace with dignity. You had talks with Pakistan. You had Atal Vajpayee ji, who facilitated trade. The Uri Muzaffarabad trade route was opened up. He traveled to Pakistan, so things were normal. But yes, people here are disillusioned with most political parties. But I would like to believe that they don't see PDP the same way as they judge other parties.
So now the big, Article 370 is the backdrop for this, politics here, election here. That's the main talking point. And I was telling this to, in fact, I met Waheed and I told him that also कि शायद ही कोई election rally मैंने बीजेपी की cover करी होगी गुजरात में या गोवा में या कर्नाटका में या दिल्ली में बंगाल में जहाँ पे आर्टिकल 370 नहीं आता है. अमित शाह बोलेंगे कि हमने ये करके दिखाया जो और कोई नहीं कर पाया. It's a hugely popular
Was.
I mean, I'm saying leave Kashmir aside, with the rest of India, there's just massive consensus that this has had to be done and they did it and it's excellent for India. Cut to Kashmir and you meet young people, you meet politicians here, there is just a sense of deep pain around Article 370. I don't think anyone can deny that.
Yeah.
There is a sense that we were not...
humiliated.
Yeah, explain to our audience who, A, doesn't want to accommodate that thought of a Kashmiri.
Yeah.
कि भाई होना है तो होना है, we don't care what you think of. And explain what this humiliation really means. Like, what, as a politician, as a public representative, what is that humiliation that people felt after this?
कश्मीरी को आप जलील करते हैं. Whatever you do to us, even the abrogation was without our consent.
जलील क्यों feel
जानवरों
हुआ?
की तरह हमें बंद किया. Manisha, did you come here in 2019?
No, but our reporter did.
There was pin drop silence. There was pin drop silence in the city, and there was this feeling of ominous feeling. You could smell it in the air. You had drones hovering above houses. You had these Air Force planes. There was talk of a war with Pakistan, but you launched a war against your own people. You locked them up and you snatch what's theirs constitutionally, and then you lock up social activists. You lock up former chief ministers. There's no activity. You suspend all forms of communication. You suspend the internet, and बाकी मुल्क में लोग तालियां बजा रहे हैं, लड्डू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं. आपको हमें जलील करने में अगर आपको खुशी मिलती है तो कश्मीर के लोग वाकई में क्या अटूट हिस्सा है, जो कहते हैं ना अटूट अंग एंड ऑल. मेरी हिंदी इज वेरी बैड, बट क्या अटूट अंग है? आपको तो हमें जलील करने में मजा आता है.
पर ये जलील क्यों फील हुआ? मतलब इसमें
अगर मैं महाराष्ट्र को तोड़ के यूटी बना दूं तो वहां के जो ठाकरे वाली शिवसेना है वो हमारी क्या हालत करेंगे? सड़क पे निकल के पूरा मॉब वो लिंचिंग करेंगे. तो वो आप सोच भी नहीं सकते. दिल्ली में इफ दे हैव गट्स, लेट देम डू इट टू महाराष्ट्र. लेट देम टर्न इट इनटू अ यूटी. हम मुसलमान हैं तो शायद लोगों को ये लॉजिक ठीक लगा कि ये मुसलमान मेजॉरिटी स्टेट है, इनको मजा चखाना है. नमक हराम है, लॉयल नहीं है इंडिया के साथ, लॉयल्टी नहीं. इंडियन गवर्नमेंट इतने पैसे डालती है, ये करती है, फलाना डिमकाना, बट दीज पीपल आर नॉट लॉयल. तो चलिए, इनकी लॉयल्टी तो हम परचेज कर नहीं सकते, लेकिन इनको मजा चखाएंगे, इनको जलील कराएंगे. सो आई थिंक फॉर एवरीबडी इन जम्मू एंड कश्मीर इट वाज वेरी ह्यूमिलिएटिंग.
It's an interesting question on loyalty that comes from what you're saying, because Now, very interestingly, last 10 years, we've seen the media narrative, and last 5 years especially, PDP, NC, अब आपके जो भी distinct, you know, आपसी differences are different, but you were all clubbed in one band of anti-nationals. टुकड़े टुकड़े gang, पाकिस्तान के you know, बोलने वाले proxies. और कश्मीर में आते हैं तो लोग बोलते हैं कि this is you are seen as Indian representatives.
Collaborators.
You are also called collaborators by some people, but PDP and National Conference, the two mainstream parties, are India for people here.
Yeah.
They are the representatives of India. Now, when you see, and it's actually very stark. I mean, people really have to come here to see how you guys are perceived here versus what the Delhi media says.
Exactly.
How do you see this irony?
You feel
कि भाई जो आप लोग separatist calls को you know नकार के you are doing elections, you are talking about Indian constitution, and then you are said
that's
told
the
कि भाई you are-
irony. That's the irony.
What do you feel
कि
about that
you're
kind of coverage that has
you're
happened?
not Indian enough for the government in India, like for the Indian government, and you're not Kashmiri enough here. So Kashmir की politics, Manisha, is very tough. I think I've said this before. Ghalib says ना कि ये इश्क नहीं आसान, एक आग का दरिया है, डूब के जाना है. Politics यहाँ आग का दरिया है, क्योंकि यहाँ एक genuine anti-India sentiment है. तो जब आप यहाँ आते हैं, आप डेमोक्रेसी के बारे में बात करते हैं, जमहूरियत के बारे में बात करते हैं, people don't entertain that thought. They view you with suspicion. And when you go to Delhi, they view you with suspicion because they think you're too pro-Kashmiri. And when you're in Kashmir, they think you're too Indian. So there's a contradiction, and it's very tough to reconcile both the ends. And that's why we've spoken about dialogue. We've spoken about a genuine dialogue with the people here. We've spoken about not having a muscular policy, but who is listening? What happens is that we end up getting discredited. The mainstream ends up getting discredited. And Delhi से भी फिर वो मीडिया खाता है, मुफ्ती अब्दुल्ला. वो हनी सिंह जैसे रैप करता है, एक ही चीज 10 बार बोलता है गाने में, वही रैप चल रहा है यहाँ पिछले 5-6 सालों से. It doesn't help.
गैंग.
हाँ, गुपकार. ऑल्दो हम गुपकार में अब रहते भी नहीं, बदनाम कर दिया उस सड़क को, रहते भी नहीं है. गुपकार गैंग. अब तो चलो, आप तो जमानत जब्त पार्टीज आपने यहाँ खड़ी की. Why didn't they work? People here, you can say that they have a deep dislike for the parties, but at the end of the day, they see hope in these parties. When they go out to vote, it will either be PDP or NC. That extra vote is not going to go anywhere else, even though Delhi is trying very hard. But it is incredibly hard to earn a Kashmiri's vote and to earn their trust. You ask me, I am campaigning. I know how hard it is to earn people's trust here.
So what are the big issues here? Like you said, and I want to dwell on that anti-Indian sentiment because this, when people outside of Kashmir watch it, it hurts the rest of the country. Ki why are you anti-India? Or why is this anti-India?
Why am I anti-India?
Not you, like the people here. Like you said, there is an anti-India sentiment.
Why are they
here.
anti-India?
Why is that? What do you see a future where that sentiment goes away? Because BJP also says that हमने ये sentiment हटा दिया है.
No.
अब लोग आके वोट कर रहे हैं.
मनीषा,
अब लोग आके पिक्चर्स देख रहे हैं.
वहाँ पिक्चर देख रहे हैं तो सब चंगा सी. मॉल यहाँ खुल गया तो सब चंगा सी. तो नॉर्थ कोरिया में तो बहुत अच्छी दुकानें, वहाँ सब सेब संतरे. If you see the vegetables, the fruits look so good, but people there are dying of starvation. So they put these plastic fruits and vegetables in their shops. That's no barometer that there's a movie hall here. What about the sentiment that's bubbling up inside? And
so how do you assess this anti-India sentiment?
A great-grandfather whose skull was fractured by the army 40 years ago, his child, who's the grandfather in the next generation, the same thing happens to him. He's humiliated by an armed soldier. Then the grandson is tied to a jeep. He's used as a military shield, which is done in Palestine, by the way. These are tactics that Israel, if you see the tactics that are used there and here, it's the same. It's the same textbook that's being applied here. So it's generational trauma. And when there's a generational trauma, and when there's a sense of betrayal, and when you keep inflicting injury and that betrayal on generation after generation, it gets added. It's not getting subtracted. There's this ache, and that ache is only getting compounded because a grandfather has seen it, then the father has seen it, then the son has seen it, then the son's son has seen it. And why do you call them anti-India? जो यहाँ पे करते हैं, जो यहाँ successive governments ने किया है, क्या वो सही है? We used to have our own prime minister, Manisha. We used to have our own constitution, our own flag. These were powers that were given to us by the Indian constitution. This is why we acceded to the country. धीरे-धीरे करके आपने तो हमसे सब छीन लिया. तो anti-India sentiment कैसे नहीं होगा? pro India होगा.
How do we fix that? And the issues that you hear of when you're meeting people, and especially women, because you're a woman politician.
You know, I'm so glad that so many women feel comfortable enough to come and speak to me. The number one issue is that pakad dhakad ka mahol hai. Lots of boys have been picked up by police, by the army. They've been languishing in jails under UAPA, PSA. These women are so uneducated. When I ask them, when were they taken? They only know when they were taken. They don't know if it's PSA. Some of them say PDF. They don't even know. They don't even know what UAP. They can't afford a lawyer. The second issue obviously is unemployment. There's growing unemployment and the Indian government has not helped. They've reduced the ration. There's a drug pandemic which is very serious. If you talk to youngsters here, they're using heroin. They're using these injectable drugs, heroin, cocaine, hash. Women are hooked onto prescription drugs. We are all, I say that Kashmir is not just an open air prison. It is also a mental asylum because a lot of us, we are mentally ill, we are disturbed, we are traumatized and we don't even know. So people here are suffering. They're suffering economically. Our economy's taken a hit. Whether you look at jobs, there's no private sector here. जो government jobs हैं, कितने लोगों को प्राइवेट नौकरियां नहीं है, गवर्नमेंट जॉब से निकाला जा रहा है. व्हेन विमेन कम अप टू मी, वो कभी कभी दुपट्टा ना ऐसे फैलाती हैं, दामन फैलाती हैं, कहती हैं हमारे 4 बच्चे हैं, 2 बेटियां हैं, 3 बेटियां हैं, घर पे बैठी हैं, डिग्री करके हम फाके जा रहे हैं. फाके मीन्स हंग्री, यू नो, वी आर स्टार्विंग. Please do something for us, you know. They hold my face, they'll clutch my face like that, they'll kiss me, they'll say हम आपके नौकर हैं. I say no. I say, I'm supposed to be your servant. But the mentality, the stereotype of a politician is such that they feel that we are supposed to be their servant. They say, just do something for us. But please, you know, we're not able to run our home. So unemployment, there's poverty. There was never poverty here before 2019. Now you see Gurbat in Kashmir. For the first time, you'll see Kashmiri people asking for arms on the streets of Srinagar.
So key issues you would say is one, arrests, security issues, like where people feel that if they're...
Suffocation.
So explain the suffocation to us, because again, this is something we don't really talk about in mainstream media, and there is sort of, at least in mainland India, there's a sort of, you know, people don't really care about this, कि ये suffocation है नहीं है, ठीक है, तो अगर terrorist attack हो गए तो करना तो पड़ेगा.
दूध मांगोगे तो चीर देंगे, क्या दूध मांगोगे तो खीर देंगे, कश्मीर मांगो तो चीर देंगे. बट उसी कश्मीरी को दिल में दर्द है, you don't care. उसको दम हो रहा है, you don't care.
So ये suffocation बताइए क्यों है? मतलब even, you know, we were talking to young students of Kashmir University today. When I asked them about this, they kind of smiled. They don't want to talk.
Yeah.
There's that fear कि फोन आ जाएगा शाम को या कुछ हो जाएगा.
होता है फोन.
तो ये थोड़ा explain करिए. This idea of suffocation. Why are you not free to talk about it? Like government से भाई press है, तुम्हारे पास newspaper है, तुम्हारे पास journalists हैं.
newspaper है. यहाँ जो सारे main newspapers हैं, आप उसके देखिए वो ad लगता है government के लिए ना. It's like a joke. You see the front page, LG साहब की फोटो, डीजीपी. और बेस्ट पार्ट इज यहाँ जो पुलिस वाले हैं उनको पॉलिटिशियंस के शौक हो गए हैं. पॉलिटिकल अकाउंटेबिलिटी नहीं है, लेकिन 2222 साइन पूरा टाइम गाड़ी में उनका वो सायरन होता है. दे बिहेव. यहाँ बात करने की आजादी नहीं है. आप अभी लाल चौक में जाइए, कश्मीर का झंडा लीजिए, इंडिया का भी लीजिए, वेव द कश्मीरी फ्लैग, within 2 minutes the police will come and they'll escort you from there. And if you're not a Kashmiri, you're lucky, they'll just put you in a thana for a couple of hours. If you're a Kashmiri, I assure you, you'll be heading into jail, you'll be booked under UAPA.
I mean, some students complain that they can't even complain about, say, electricity outage.
No.
Or bad roads. Like even something on civic issues can invite...
The LG here, when his motorcade moves through the city, it's like the president of India. And it happens a lot of times. And when his cavalcade blocks streets, people tweet about it sometimes. But when they tweet about it, they're instantly called up from his office. If you criticize the government, they came out with this order. The LG administration issued an order that if you're a government employee and you criticize anything, even the electricity cuts, which are criminal, in this in the cold winter, which is called Chilai Kalan, minus sub-zero temperatures, you don't have electricity for 12-14 hours in a day. If you're a government employee and you even talk about it, you will be fired from your job. So you can't even talk about genuine grievances. You're not saying पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद. You are saying यार मेरे घर पे लाइट नहीं है सुबह से, क्या है, मेरी माँ है, उसको प्रॉब्लम है, उनको ऑक्सीजन लगाना है, डायलिसिस पे है, वी हैव प्रॉब्लम्स, यू नीड इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, उस पे आपको पुलिस आ जाती है कि आप ये बात नहीं कर सकते हैं. सो इट्स वेरी सफोकेटिंग.
काउंटर टू दिस दो फ्रॉम द इंडियाज पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू वुड बी कि भाई टेररिज्म डंडे से ही बंद होता है, दैट इट कैन
तो क्यों नहीं बंद हुआ?
टॉक से बंद नहीं होता.
क्यों नहीं हुआ बंद? राजौरी में तो टेररिज्म नहीं था. आपने तो इतना मस्कुलर कनपट्टी पे गन रख के आपने पीस एस्टैब्लिश की, तो फिर राजौरी में क्यों टेरर इंसिडेंट्स हो रहे हैं? डोडा में क्यों हो रहा है? जम्मू में तो कभी नहीं होता था, जम्मू में भी अब हो रहा है. सो व्हाई इज दिस हैपनिंग? ऑन वन हैंड दे से एवरीथिंग इज फाइन, सब चंगा सी, but you see militancy erupt in places where you never had militancy. You have educated men here, young men, PhD scholars who are joining the ranks of militancy. Why is that happening?
Now, let's come to you being a woman in politics. Like your mother was the first chief minister, woman chief minister. What are some of the difficulties that you are facing now, especially because you are seen as a dynast. You are a dynast. You're not seen as one, but you're new. You're also a woman. And in a conservative society like Kashmir, are you taken seriously, or you're feeling the the kind of the sexist gaze कि अच्छा इसको नहीं पता है, इसको हम समझाते हैं, इसको बताते हैं?
I am. I think people respect me because they understand that in 2019 it was very difficult for me to talk. If you see the number of people who spoke in 2019, it was literally just a handful of people. I was one of them. So they do understand that I'm mature, but जो अपने पार्टी के लोग होते हैं और जो अंकल्स होते हैं कभी कभी आपकी रैलीज में, वो आपको बहुत इन्फेंटलाइज करेंगे, ऑब्वियस सी चीज़ बताएंगे. अगर गाड़ी में ऑडियंस पीछे बोलेंगे नहीं नहीं आप टर्न, तो मैं कहूँगी मैं खाली जगह क्यों मैं एड्रेस करूँगी, मैं इतनी ज़हीन तो हूँ. कभी कभी गुस्सा भी आता है. दे टेंड टू इन्फेंटलाइज यू मोर बिकॉज यू आर अ गर्ल. दे फील दे कैन पेट्रनाइज यू बिकॉज यू आर अ गर्ल, बट आई डोंट लाइक इट एट ऑल. आई ट्राई नॉट टू लूज माई कूल, but that's something that I'm facing a lot. They infantilize me. नहीं नहीं ये चु लाको छोटी है ये, you know. तो मैं छोटी नहीं हूँ.
And you don't cover your hair like your mother does?
No.
Head? Why? You don't think that's important sometimes?
In fact, my mother also told me, she said, no, Sana, you don't cover your head and you should not. Manisha, I'm not here to put myself on a pedestal and be like I'm perfect and I'm going to be this person you think I am or you want me to be. At home, I hardly wear the dupatta, and even if I do, I never cover my head. So why should I project myself to be something that I'm not? My mother covers her head. That's her decision. I don't cover my head, and I don't want to be something that I'm not. So I try to keep it as real as I want. A girl in Kashmir should have the freedom. Let her do the hijab if she wants. Let her be in parda. Let her do the niqab, abaya. But if she doesn't want to do it, don't chase her. Let her have that agency. Let her have that autonomy. A lot of people have told me कि इशारे में ना दिखाते हैं, जब भी मैं रैली में होती हूँ दुपट्टा नहीं होगा तो कोई आदमी चल रहा होगा ऐसे ऐसे करेगा अपनी शर्ट को, तो आई से आई नो काम.
But I also notice in your rally you speak Hindi थोड़ा बहुत.
या उर्दू.
हाँ, उर्दू हिंदी. लेकिन you don't speak Kashmiri because
Manjeevi
politicians have to speak good Kashmiri, and some students were making fun today only in the morning of Umar Abdullah's Kashmiri.
Yeah.
इसने ये word गलत बोल दिया.
Yeah.
So there is that thing. Are you really with the people? Are you off? Can you even be a mass leader if you're not speaking fluent Kashmiri?
I've seen so many double-faced people here speak impeccable Kashmiri. I don't want to name them. But their politics is so dogla. So people here understand if you're genuine, whether you speak Kashmiri or not. I can understand Kashmiri, and I speak a little bit of Kashmiri as well in my meetings. If you must have, you haven't.
You go into it.
I speak a bit of Kashmiri as well, and when the women speak to me, they come and speak to me in Kashmiri. I insist that no, you talk to me in Kashmiri because then there's that flow and I understand. But just because you speak Kashmiri does not mean you're going to be a very genuine and honest leader. The inverse can also be true. That maybe I don't know Kashmiri, I don't. But I think people here are wise enough to understand. You saw the kind of people who come to my rally. They feel that I'm genuine. The number of women who come in my meetings, I don't think they show up for other people because they feel that she's a girl, she understands our pain. So language is not a barrier as such. And I think if even Omar Abdullah has tried to speak Kashmiri, we all have different human experiences. I was raised in Delhi. This is my human story. Uske upar, if people have a problem, mazak udayenge, let them make fun. It'll take time. It'll take time for them to understand what I stand for.
Now, two last questions. One is, when we're talking about Kashmir, the issue of Kashmiri Pandits comes up. this is a blot on the history of Kashmir. At the same time, there's also a sort of sense of denialism when you speak to regular people. They do want to say that नहीं हम ऐसे नहीं हैं, हम लोग हमारी सोसाइटी कम्युनल नहीं है, ये हो गया कुछ हो गया, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की गलती थी या कुछ लोगों की गलती थी. कश्मीरी पंडित्स on the other hand feel that भाई by denying that you're just denying the fact that we had to leave.
The exodus
That happened. And now there is this reality of, you know, militancy has not died down. There is the abrogation that has happened. Do you, honestly, as a political figure or someone who wants to make their mark, do you see this even as a possibility of Kashmiri Pandits to come back to the valley? Or is it just something that we'll keep talking about, lekin ye hoga nahi?
it's a lot of acrimony. There are a couple of Kashmiri Pandit journalists, when they interview me, not all of them, but some of them, it gets so personal that they behave like, you can tell the way they'll ask you questions, you can tell that they're hurting and they're being vindictive. Because सवाल पूछने का भी एक तरीका होता है, they get very personal. But I understand their pain. I was speaking to a Kashmiri Pandit a few days back and he told me that when he was growing up as a teenager in a refugee camp in Jagti in Jammu, a neighbor came with a plate full of leftover vazwan. And he said, you know, when he gave it to my mother, he said, these are leftovers. He said, my mother's heart broke. I cannot even imagine how he felt. So they've seen so much pain. We cannot be in denial. But I still believe that Kashmiri Muslims had nothing to do with their exodus, with them leaving. But we must apologize that maybe we could not protect them the way we should have, the way we could have. And for hearts to heal, for reconciliation to happen, I think maafi मांगने से आप छोटे नहीं होते हैं कद में. But it's not like Kashmiri Muslims here didn't suffer. We suffered equally. Did my family not have to leave? So we have to have that kind of love. But for Kashmiri Pandits to project it कि Kashmiri Muslims drove them away is not right. Kashmiri Muslims have also suffered so much. Conflict does not discriminate. It hits everybody equally.
But there is a certain sense of insecurity. I mean, I don't think it's fair to... Of course, Kashmiri Muslims have also suffered. Anyone who's been here has suffered. Even, I mean, there were attacks on Bihari migrant labor who were here. They were killed. But there is a specific connotation to being attacked for your identity. It's like saying in mainland India, if a Muslim is lynched in Aligarh or in Dadri, Hindus have nothing to do with it. अरे Hindus भी तो कभी-कभी lynch हो जाते हैं चोरी के मामले में या वो बात सेम नहीं है क्योंकि वो एक specific कारण की वजह से हो रहा है और उसमें identity religion plays a big role. So don't you think that's just not... I'm not saying that, again, like I don't think all Hindus are communal just in the way that all Muslims are communal and those broad strokes are there. But there is a responsibility of the majority community always in such a situation.
That's why
and there's a specific connotation to being attacked for your religion.
But which, tell me, even in the past year and a half, if there have been attacks on Pandits, who has carried it out? Has it been a normal Kashmiri Muslim? No, it's not. And I don't even know who is behind these attacks. Because we know what happens when a Kashmiri Pandit here is attacked. It doesn't help a Kashmiri Muslim or his image. So, I'm not saying it's just a bond of love. Nobody willingly would want to attack a Pandit here. So, and I attended a religious festival, a Pandits ka tha last month. Muslims were also there, Pandits were also there. But yes, we need to make them feel more safe. We need to make them feel safer. We need to make more of an effort. We need to tell them that our Kashmir is incomplete without you. It has to go beyond rhetoric. My grandfather is the one who made, who built a colony for them to facilitate their rehabilitation. We are the ones who have to take the first step.
He was the home minister when the exodus happened, so there's that.
He was the home minister, but there's a lot of misconception. There are a lot of things that are misattributed to him that he drove them out. Manisha, my grandfather, was the most secular man I know. He was the most progressive person I knew. All his friends were Pandits. My mom's friends, they were all Pandits. I don't have a communal bone inside me. Not even a single communal bone. The way Mufti Sahab was, he had friends cutting across all lines, all religions. He was not communal. The exodus that happened here was very painful. It is a blot. It is a blot for all of us. Should we apologize? I met a Kashmiri Pandit today who seemed very acrimonious. I apologized. I said, listen, I am sorry for the pain that you suffered. मैं तो तब 2 साल की थी, मेरी कोई पर्सनल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं थी, मेरा कोई रोल नहीं था. बट स्टिल इनका दर्द, इनके दिल में इतना दर्द है. इफ हमारे अपोलोजाइज करने से कम होता है, I will apologize. But did we have a role to play? No. My family moved out as well in 1987. I wasn't even born here. My aunt was kidnapped. Did the militants see that she was Muslim? No, they didn't.
Let's come to Delhi now. Now, you were in alliance with BJP, and back then you weren't formally in politics, but still, now there is, of course, you guys were put under house arrest, jail, ye sab hua. Are you in touch with any of the politicians in BJP? Because Rajnath Singh had good relations. He would come here. You guys have helped organize rallies for them, your party, which I mean. Are you in touch with anyone there? Is there any sort of dialogue happening between PDP and BJP?
Absolutely not. I mean, what dialogue do you have with a party that is
Who did you have
intent
best
that
relations
is
with?
intent on setting fire to the entire country? They've Kashmirized India. यहाँ पे वो इंडिया बनाना चाहते थे, पूरे मुल्क को उन्होंने कश्मीर बना दिया. This is what Pratap Bhanu Mehta also said in his column, you know. They've spread conflict and it's like fire everywhere. But why should I be on backslapping terms with, I mean,
Is there anyone that, who do you, let me put it in the sense that because you guys had a working
back
relationship,
channels with?
back channel, and who do you feel like if you had to talk, because of course once you're in political life, आपके सारे channels खुले होने चाहिए, सबसे बात करना है, आपको negotiate भी करना है अपने state के लिए. Who are you most comfortable talking to?
Nobody. I mean, look, I'm a newbie in politics.
Your mother.
My mother will not speak to anybody at all. Like my mother is she's a tough nut and she's very like harsh. So if you see other politicians, even Mufti Saab, he would network a lot. He would have these personal relationships regardless of political lines. Ram Vilas Paswan was a close friend. Lalu Prasad, even people in the BJP, some people he was quite friendly with. Jaswant Sinha, Yashwant Sinha. My mother's not like that at all. So we don't really speak to anybody in that camp.
And who would you, I mean, in terms of politicians who've been out of Kashmir, who have sort of got in touch with you during the abrogation time also?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Nobody at all. There, I got a message when I did Hard Talk, the BBC show, and when I did an interview with Amanpour, I was told that we will book your mother under PSA. So that a message I got, but I don't want to name the person.
Okay.
He was obviously quite at the top. The message was sent indirectly through a messenger. And they said that if you do this, then we'll book her under PSA. I said, I know you will anyways book her under PSA, so I might as well talk and then you book her. And they booked her under PSA a month later.
Yeah, they did book her under PSA.
Yeah.
What if this election doesn't work out for you? It's your first election. Like you said, PDP, it's hard for PDP right now. There is that there's that anger and that backlog of the alliance. What if it doesn't work out for you? Are you committed to the party? Do you want to stay in? Or do you think you would look for something else? Because this wasn't your first choice of profession.
I'm fighting to win. And if I lose, I don't think if I'm going to be a Bhagoda also. You can't just run and rats flee a sinking ship. This is a party that cost me my childhood. I lost a lot of my childhood because my mother put in her all to build this party. So I'm not going to let it sink. God forbid, Khuda na khasta, even if I lose the election, I am going to stick around. Even though it's very hard, Manisha, I have to be honest with you. There are days when I'm so overwhelmed. I feel like it's a lot and I'm a very anxious person. My nature is I'm very anxious, I'm very restless. I don't take things lightly. So I put a lot of stress on myself, but can I leave my mother alone? I don't think so.
But is there some fear that the way that you lost your childhood, or you say that you had a distant parent because of her career in politics, you would just end up doing the same?
I will never do the same. And if I have to choose between my family and politics, I will choose my family.
Okay.
If tomorrow I got married, to be honest with you, I would never do that to my kids. I'm not going to be an absentee mother. I'm not, because I've had an absentee mother and it messes you up in ways and forms that manifest much later in your relationships with other people, in how you perceive life and how you trust or don't trust people. That's not something.
Do you have like some resentment, residual resentment, or now that you're in politics, you kind of understand when you look back?
I get very angry because I was a small child and my mother would come home and I would try to make her laugh and be all happy. And she would snap at me and she would snap at me. And so I got this habit of trying to make her laugh and I would feel guilty. When I grew up, I felt it was my responsibility to make a person laugh or happy because I got that from my mother, because she would always be so stressed when she would come home. So I feel very angry now कि मुझे लगता I was just 9, I didn't know.
Now, I was going to come to a political statement by her actually, which really landed you guys in a soup. This
Yeah.
was Rajnath Singh, 2016.
The press conference.
The state is, you know,
On
in
fire.
absolute turmoil. And she's there, and the journalists ask her, "Kitte bachche mere?" I think almost 9,500
Yeah,
people were
yeah.
killed in firing. And there were, of course, massive protests with losses of life the other side also.
Yeah.
But she said ki bhai, she was very abrupt and snubbed. The
Yeah.
journalist saying that bhai toffee या दूध मांगने थोड़ा ना जाते हैं forces के पास.
Yeah,
Meaning that if
yeah.
they were shot dead, they deserved it.
No, that's
That
not what
has-
she meant.
That is kind
I
of
think-
still, people still
Yeah.
talk about that.
No, I think she was completely misunderstood. I think my mother, if you speak to people, they don't even call her Mehbooba Mufti. They call her Baji, which means older sister. I think that came as a maternal instinct. But the way maybe it was said, it was misinterpreted. People didn't interpret it well and they misunderstood. But I've seen my mother rescue kids. I've seen her rescue boys from army camps when she wasn't even an MLA. So that's also another side that people understand. But in politics, what happens is that you're in this situation where there's a vicious cycle. There are killings, there are protests, then there are killings. And she's under this tremendous pressure. So what she said was, as she said, as a mother, as an older sister, obviously people didn't take to it very kindly. They didn't like it at all. The way she said it, it was misunderstood. People felt very hurt. And even today, when I go amongst people, I tell them, I apologize. I say, if
She's
any...
also apologized a bunch of times.
No,
now.
and so do I. Even though I haven't said it. But it has come from my party president. I apologize for it because I don't think माफी मांगने से ये पॉलिटिक्स में होता रहता है. आप कुछ बोलते हैं, लिटरल वो लैंग्वेज जो आप यूज करते हैं, मीनिंग कुछ और होता है, लोग कुछ समझ लेते हैं दूसरा. I apologize for it. She said it. It hurt people. There is some resentment against it even today. But I think she was misunderstood. And it is something that I will apologize for. I don't have that ego thing कि नहीं, she meant this तो नहीं, आपको बुरा लगा, I apologize for it. You misunderstood it, I apologize.
What are
for
some
it.
of the things you want to take from your mother as a politician? And what are some of the things you just don't want to do? Like, okay, these are the things I'm not going to repeat that she did, and these are the things that I'm really going to learn from
I
her.
hope to have her patience. I hope to have her compassion. I hope to have her empathy. I hope not to have her... I feel sometimes she's too emotional, and I think it's more important to be rational. Sometimes in politics, it's all about the judicious use of your brain and your heart. You decide at what moment you choose the heart over the brain and vice versa. I hope I have that wisdom. Sometimes when you choose the heart over the brain, it's not good. You don't take the right decision. So for me, it's about balancing my emotions with what is right.
Now, you're young, you're 36. And
No, I'm 37.
Okay, you're 37.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, that this wasn't your plan to enter politics, and politics does suck everything out of you. There's no
Yeah.
Sunday, there's no Saturday, there's no weekend, there's no off.
Yeah.
You have to be available there for people, whether you're in power or not. Do you miss, life before you kind of jumped into politics, or do you think that, and do you think you're equipped to give so much of yourself to people?
I think it's a premature question because I've just gotten into it, so I'm discovering new things as we go by. But yeah, you lose all like semblance of, I guess, a personal life, you would say. But I guess it helps that I'm single. It helps that I'm not married. I don't have kids. I don't have the kind of responsibilities my mother had. But people feel like they claim you and they feel like they have the first right over you. That does scare me a little.
Last question, and then we can wrap up. As a young Kashmiri who has chosen the path of democracy, of going towards electoral politics, who's really been born in that ideology of, taking democracy or, getting into electoral politics, what would your message be to young Kashmiri youth today who can be quite hopeless, who can feel the sense of despondency that they're not being heard, and then who may also go towards, the gun or do things which will not necessarily end up in a good way for them?
Oh, that's a very serious question, and I don't think I want to give like a light answer that doesn't really address the main problem. A lot of our youngsters, because there's such utter despair and disillusionment, they're turning to the gun and they're turning to drugs. Drugs is a serious pandemic here. So my message for the youngsters really would be that hopefully as your political representative, I will try to do whatever I can, whether it's education, opening more schools, having more universities, equipping them with skills, having more schemes for youngsters, having more stuff to do for entrepreneurs, sports, getting them into sports, because we need to provide them with more avenues to channelize those energies. My message to them would be not to give up hope and not to turn towards the gun or drugs, because neither of them is going to help long term.
What would your advice be to Delhi if they had to solve this issue, this long-standing issue, or forget solving anything, but just getting people to the mainstream? Well, Delhi will say that the big victory for BJP is that even those who have
That a man who espouses a referendum trounced a former chief
ये
minister.
इलेक्शन में शायद सबसे रिकॉर्ड आपको टर्नआउट दिखेगा, तो ये एक दिल्ली का विक्ट्री है, दैट हम जो मना करते थे वो भी अब इलेक्शंस की बात कर रहे हैं.
विपत्ति बुद्धि क्या बुद्धि क्या वो एक संस्कृत
विनाशकाल विपरीत बुद्धि.
बीजेपी का यही हाल है, बेहाल है उनका हाल. I mean, look, they need to stop being an ostrich with its hand buried deep under the sand. Till you don't acknowledge you have a problem, there will be no solution, because you'll say there's no problem. Till they don't acknowledge that there's a serious problem here, there's simmering resentment, alienation, things will continue to be. In Kashmir, the more things change, the more they stay the same. We are having the same cyclical conversations that journalists probably had with my mother 10 years ago, 15 years ago. No real changes happened. Acknowledge that there's a problem. Acknowledge that you've obliterated the pro-India camp. Acknowledge that you're obliterating the mainstream, the middle ground. You acknowledge that, and then they themselves will know what to do. Have a dialogue with the people, not even with the political parties. Have a genuine dialogue with the people. Talk to them. Ask them about their aspirations. Apologize to them. Apologize to them for humiliating them, for this collective punishment that you've been heaping on them for the past 5 years. Apologize to them. Genuine apology.
Great. Thank you so much for taking out the time in your busy schedule. Best of luck with your campaign, and let's see how that ends for you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. This election season, your right to choose puts you at the heart of it again.
We'd like to be your eyes and ears. Choose the journalism and media that serves democracy and you.
Simply head on to newslaundry.com/subscription and pick up the TNMNL joint subscription of your choice today.